thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back. I am Jessica Johnson, and this is my talk show, No Longer Broken, with Terry Crooney as my co-host and our special guest, Priscilla McCauley. So we left off when we were talking about pruning, and so also we're going to continue that, but also guys, continue to follow me on Instagram, Blessed As I Am, Facebook, Blessed As I Am, and you can also find us on YouTube, No Longer Broken. And we will continue to have updates pertaining to the discussions, the Teen Fashion Week fashion shows, and Teen Crush Tuesdays. So when we left off, you were sharing about your story from when you were, when you met your ex-husband, when you started dating him at a young age. You said you were 14 or 15 when you met him?
I was 14.
14, and then he was how old?
19.
19.
Yeah.
So this day and age, a lot of people might think, well, that's not too, too much age and difference. But a 14-year-old and a 19-year-old, that is, because 14, you're in middle school. 19, they are already graduated out of high school, and could be or should be in college. So that is a huge age gap. And so we know, and I'm a secretary at a high school, and so there are high concerns of our young girls dating older men. And those also go into the manipulations of those type of relationships, because the gentleman knows that these young girls are very persuasive, and she thinks she's so in love. And so when her parents are telling her, trying to warn her to be against that, and then he just, he'll start putting things in her ear. They just don't want us to be together. They don't want us to be together, making her believe that he loves her. So then now she's going against her parents' values, her parents' rules, and then sneaking out of the house and doing things that can put her in so much danger. So I've been on spring break, and I got stuck on this TV show called Right Down. The daughter in that TV series actually did that. She was dating her teacher, and it's always, but I'm almost an adult. I'm almost 17. First of all, almost.
You're still 16.
Yes. And then, well, I'll be 18 in X amount of months. You're not, and it's a teacher. This is your educator. And you're thinking you're in love with this man. And if it's so right, then why do you have to sneak and do it?
Right. And really, there's a lot of that going on. I mean, I think it's always been going on. It's just more noticeable because we have the internet. We have more TV shows. And I've even heard people say like, oh, that was my fantasy, like being with a teacher. Was it? You have to look at something along the way is wrong with that. There's something that we were missing, because that's almost like an adult grooming a child. And I don't really think that my kid's father groomed me, because I was very well aware. Like I don't think he didn't manipulate me into doing anything. I did choose to do those things, but at the same time, what would gravitate continuously once you found out how old I was.
Okay, so yours was he didn't know your true age. And see, that was also with my mom. She was 12 and my dad was 17.
Now did he know?
No. My mother, she said he never asked, so she never mentioned. And then, so you know how it is, the friends. So my dad's best friend was dating my mother's friend, and so my father just assumed she was their age because the friend was my father and his friend's age. So he just, they're socializing, and my mother wasn't a petite girl, she was always kind of big, and so he just assumed. And so by the time he found out her age, something had happened and my grandmother was fussing at them, whatever, and that's how it came out, because my grandmother was fussing at them. But again, found out you still didn't leave and you chose to stay. But it also could have been because I think my mom got pregnant at 14 with my brother, my oldest brother. So again, they were already in there. But even looking at that age difference, and honestly, for me, again, a lot of things for me as I've been processing my story, a lot of my insecurities also made me think about why the relationships that I've had was unhealthy. Again, it stemmed from my dad, because my first relationship and first unhealthy sexual encounter was from my father. So when I've had the issues of married men approaching me or men that were involved, I literally, and this literally was the epiphany that came to me, it was a couple of years ago, was my dad was married. And he approached, and I mean, I was a child, but to think, why am I keep attracting married men? And my mind keeps going back to my own father, a married man, you know, approaching me, and how I'm trying to prune that off of me to stop attracting those type of men, you know, about that. That's what is on me. So that was something that I went through with myself, you know, self-doubt and insecurities of why is that attract, you know, why am I attracted, not me, why, what am I trying to say? Why are those men attracted to me? Yeah, but also trying to, like I said, going back to the pruning, what is it that I'm putting out there? Right. You know, am I putting something out there that's causing?
Today on Teen Crush Tuesdays, we honor Madison Johnson Holland. Congratulations for crushing it on your graphic design college courses. Keep on going, beauty.
I don't even really think as children we put anything out there being young. I really just think that because I mean for me, like with their dad, you know, for him it was, well, you acted more mature than everybody else, because I met him on a bus stop, you know what I mean, downtown, and I mean they were kids, I mean the same kids that we would get off the Indigo bus with, I mean they were all over the place just running. And so because I achieved so for him, like I noticed, you know, he had been watching me for like 2-3 days, and then he hit me with the, oh, well, my car's in the shop, but you know how that used to go. But then eventually I didn't see him anymore, and so his car was in the shop, and he was, you know, but for him it was like, oh, you act mature. It was never, well, how old are you really? You know what I mean? And I think for some adults, they try to play on that. It's like, well, I don't want to really know how old you are, because then if you're underage, I'm not going to be able to have you how I want. So we're going to, you know, play the games and kind of, you know, go from there. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we have a few announcements on behalf of the retreatusa.com.
Interested in your teen becoming one of the Teen Fashion Week models? Get on over to eventbrite.com.
All right, guys, welcome back. This is Jessica Johnson with No Longer Broken with my co-host Terry Croney and our special guest Priscilla McCauley.
The book writer.
Hey. Hey guys, first of all, y'all do realize we are still in March, right? Y'all know what March is. Yes, you know, we are still, this is March.
Month of Women. Yes. Well, we all around. We all here. I don't know who came up with us celebrating 1 month, honey. We are fabulous and worthy to be noticed everywhere. Every day, every month, every
So we got shout out again to Mom being behind the camera.
First Lady L, ready to break the house of prayer and everything. Make sure y'all check them out too at gfhpchurch.net.
There it is. And so I appreciate you coming down, taking the time out to, you know, share your book with us, share your story. I appreciate you for that. So let's get into a little bit more about why we stay, but also now we can talk about when we start leaving. So I've been having a couple of conversations, and I've been explaining to people that when we start ending relationships, unhealthy relationships, we started getting those epiphanies, those aha moments. We finally let God speak to us. We clearly hear His voice, or that good old fashioned. Sometimes we're sitting there, and you know when you're jerking, you're like, because God was kind of, you know how people mush your head? He was like driving, telling you to leave. So I started talking about, you know, forgiveness, because a lot of people think when relationships end, people, oh, you just bitter, you just mad, you being hateful, and that does happen to some people. But when you end a relationship, so within your spirit, you know you have forgiven them, but you also know that I can no longer have you in my life.
Yes.
People are confusing forgiveness with thinking that means that they still need to have permission to be in your life. And that's not true. Some relationships you can, but most of them, especially if they've been an extreme toxic relationship, I can't have you in my life anymore. So I've also seen that is, I'm not a gardener. My grandmother had the green thumb, but people who prune. When you look at gardeners, anybody that's out in their yard, they're pruning and they're, you know, pruning their plants and their flowers and stuff. Everybody knows in order for you to flourish and grow, you have to be pruned.
Yeah.
So you got to cut off those dead leaves, those dead branches for you to grow further. And that's what that means when you're coming out of those healthy relationships. I had to prune. It doesn't mean I don't love you anymore, but I have to love me enough to let you go.
Oh yeah.
Because it's hurting me, it's killing me, and this is not healthy. And to be honest, it's not healthy and not fair to either one of us to continue this relationship. So Priscilla, tell us, what is your favorite chapter in your book?
My favorite chapter in my book is I Can't Breathe.
See, look at that. Can't breathe.
Yes.
We're pruning. So tell us, give us some secrets in the book.
This particular chapter talks about in my 20s,
Ooh.
being married early in life, going from one abusive home to an abusive marriage and relationship. So the things that I grew up with, I became the abused. And so to me, when I say I'm not able to breathe, is I could not be myself. I could not think for myself. I could not do anything because that person was so domineering over me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for me, there was no me. There was no me. So there was a particular time, and I'm not saying people should do this, but I engaged in an unhealthy, substance.
Okay. Right, entanglement. Substance, okay.
Substance.
Okay.
And I actually thought that I was sleeping, and I was dreaming from the time I was 3 all the way up until the time I think at this time I was 26. And I thought that I was going to get ready for work. And now I know what it was the Holy Spirit, but at the time I would say something told me to turn around. And so when I turned, I saw my body on the bed. And I was like, Lord, you just give my spirit back to my body, I promise. I will free myself from this. I will give you. And I did. And that's when we started having a lot. Because then I knew I was here for more than to be abused.
Yeah.
So you found your purpose.
And so at that time, until that came, I couldn't breathe. Until then, I could not breathe. But you learn in stages in your relationship. And even though I got out of that one, I still had other pruning that I needed to take place with other relationships until I surrendered completely.
Yeah.
That's when I found my boo, who is healing.
That's not big
My
brother.
boo for me.
That's not big brother.
Now that relationship, is that the one you were in for 14 years? And see, I was married at 17. So, and we had talked about that before. My parents actually signed for me to get married at 17 because that's what I thought I wanted to do. And I was already, pregnant and had a baby before. And I had all 3 of mine by the time I was almost 20. But for me, even leaving that long term of a relationship, I thought that it would take me long to heal, but it didn't really take me too long to heal. It was more forgiving myself. Forgiving myself for staying. I didn't necessarily have to forgive him for anything, because at that time in my life, that was a choice that I wanted to make. I thought I was in love.
Especially when they're young and they're dating over.
Yeah, and I was 15, I was 14 actually when I met him. I told him I was 16, but then my big sister, ratted me out. But even then, he didn't care. And so that too was kind of, along the lines of I was almost 15, you're 19. And so it crossed over, and my father was there. My father was a very present father. It's just with him being in the army, I still was missing that part of a man. That there's a different love that you get from a woman than you do from a man, and so that's generally why girls are so infatuated usually with their father's partners. Here at the commercial break, we'll be catching back up on pruning the relationship. Stay tuned.
You've been tuned in to another episode of No Longer Broken with Jessica Johnson. I'm your co-host, Terry Croney. Make sure you stay up to date with us and follow us on all social media under Blessed As I Am.